First of all, welcome to the 6th edition of this fantastic expo, the TransMEA event. This year is actually taking a whole new life by integrating industry and transportation and logistics into one venue. And that sort of sets some of the discussion items we're going to have with our esteemed panelists, because every one of the organizations represented today is going through their own transformation journey, and they're considering integrating different business strategies and transforming their businesses into something that is new and in some cases uncharted territories. Let me walk you through the logic or the rationale of this panel. Before I introduce the panelists, just a point of order, we are missing 2 panelists. Those empty seats are there for a reason. Our panelists missing are coming to us from Al Manara Conference Hall. There is another session happening there that unfortunately is running late. So anytime we expect to be joined by those 2 esteemed gentlemen, and we'll have a full house. But we'll get to that in a second. The theme of transformation is something that we all need to actually embrace, especially when we're talking about the content of today. There are 3 key waves sweeping through the logistics and transportation space. There is the sustainability or decarbonization aspect, which I'm sure resonates with anybody who's exposed to other conferences and economic forums, because everybody, regardless of their industry, is talking about some sort of sustainability mandate, SDG targets, as well as decarbonization strategies. The second one, we cannot escape the AI and digitalization wave. Every industry has to actually adapt to this beast that was unleashed in 2022, and we need to figure out how to actually survive, how to make sure we maintain our competitive edge, and how we actually can continue to add value to the existing assets and the legacy networks we have in place. And the third wave, which is very relevant to the operators we have on stage, is the issue of interoperability, meaning how can I integrate different modes of transport, different modes of logistics? How can a port operator become an end-to-end delivery partner? How can a high-speed rail ensure their resilience? How can rail become a substitute for maritime transport or a complementer in some cases, and so on? So all in all, these 3 waves are struggles that these gentlemen are going through on a daily basis, and they hopefully by the end of this session will have a better understanding of what's happening out there and what kind of winning strategies are the leaders represented today adopting in order to make sure that over the next decade they continue to add value and grow. A final point is about Egypt. This event is in Egypt, and within this sector, Egypt has had a tremendous track record. I'm pretty sure when the time comes, our gentlemen can talk us through the contracts they have in the pipeline, the future forecasts, and so on. But all in all, wherever you look in Egypt in the transport and logistics section, whether it's port, high-speed rail, monorail, light transit, and other modes of transportation, the amount of investment that the government of Egypt has made in the logistics and transport sector is staggering. And this gives us all even more reason to be optimistic about the future, because this constitutes a base or a platform upon which we can actually build further expansion and further service delivery networks, and so on and so forth. With that introduction out of the way, I'll have to turn to the panelists who agreed to be with us today. We have an all-star panel today, by the way, and I'm not saying this lightly. I've done enough of these panels to know when I have an all-star cast. So today I'm really lucky to be in the presence of these gentlemen. Just to highlight a little bit of a love triangle on stage, we have the gentleman from Alstom and the gentleman from Siemens Mobility. And then to complete the love triangle, we have Orascom, who happens to be a partner for both. So Mr.Ahmed here represents the partner who's sort of dating both companies and managing to keep them both happy. So bachelors in the room, we can take some tips from Ihab how to actually do that. Only bachelors, by the way. So that's the bit of the Turkish sitcom drama we have right there. So with that out of the way, I'll start with, if I may, with Mr. Martin Vujur. So again, welcome to the panel. I'm going to start with something that you already said in public. You were commenting, I think, a few months back about the high-speed rail frequency between Paris and Lyon, and how they tie into this sustainability. I know the Middle East is a little bit, and Egypt is a little bit behind Europe on that aspect, but that gives us something to shoot for and an aspiration. So please walk us through this interesting application.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I will just precise a bit. Between Paris and Lyon, it is 16 trains per hour, not daily, so per hour.
There you go.
So we are talking about high-speed rail every 4 minutes, even less than every 4 minutes between Paris and Lyon, meaning that it's a very high-speed line, but it's a metro, in fact. Less than 4 minutes, we are talking about a metro at peak hours between Paris and Lyon, which is probably the busiest high-speed line in the world right now. So indeed, it's a nice illustration of what high speed is enabling, let's say, us to offer and to share. Maybe if I take a bit of a step back on this topic about decarbonization, number one is cities, and definitely in the region, in Egypt and in the Middle East and Africa region, the first, let's say, focus is on urban mobility. And on urban mobility, obviously, with these mega cities, we have really a challenge to improve the mobility system and to reduce the consumption of greenhouse gas, etc. And definitely, the solutions that we offer, be it metro, be it monorail, be it tramway, are a cornerstone of these efforts by the authorities. The numbers are everywhere to be found. In Dubai, we count 21 million car journey avoided, major emissions cuts thanks to the metro. In Cairo monorail and the new metro lines, it's hundreds of thousands of cars daily which are avoided. So definitely we are showing in those cities what is the right way forward in order to improve the mobility in these mega cities, and at the same time to offer the best and the most efficient, let's say, decarbonized imperative. The next step is probably, as you said, the main lines and the intercity. You're right that it's probably a bit behind Europe, but to be fair, it's catching up. So we saw the very high speed in Morocco, which is a reality now, with the second line now under construction. We saw in Saudi the high-speed line between Medina and Mecca. You know that in the Gulf countries now, all the industry is competing for Abu Dhabi to Dubai high-speed line. And we believe that the future is here in all the Gulf countries, and that all these main lines, major cities in the region, will be at some stage connected by very high-speed lines. We know our colleagues, and I'm sure Leon will talk about it, are very advanced in Egypt also for this high speed. So definitely this is decarbonization. It's also transformational. What we saw in Morocco is that this first high-speed line between Casablanca, Rabat, and Tangiers has been definitely changing the way the country is organizing itself, and the development capabilities, the industrial development around Tangiers has been enabled by this high-speed development. Very interesting when we talk about ports development and industry around the port. I stop here, but definitely a very interesting introduction. Thank you.
So, thank you. I want to jump to Mr. Ihab, representing Orascom Construction. First of all, congratulations on the Grand Egyptian Museum. I understand Orascom was the force behind realizing this 20-year plus project. So you made us all proud.
We didn't build it in 20 years. We built it in 8 years only.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
So again, talking about Orascom and sticking with the theme of transformation, Orascom builds just about everything: monorails, high-speed rail, major construction. You own, I think, 50% of B6, which in itself is a major construction entity as well. And again, before the panel, we were talking about the idea of transforming the business from a mere contractor who builds projects and then hands them off to the idea of an integrated operator who takes the life cycle of the asset from design, construction, and then later operation and maintenance. And you had an interesting perspective on that. So I'll give you a chance to walk us through this logic, but I just want to raise the question, why would a contracting company, successful, profitable, and so on, want to get into the nitty-gritty of operating assets and maintenance and so on? What's the strategic rationale? And does it apply evenly across every market, or are there peculiarities in, let's say, Middle East versus Africa versus Europe in that context?
First, thank you regarding the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's a really, if you allow me, it's a unique project, and having this, I would say, opportunity, I encourage everyone to go and visit it, because it's really one of a kind project and a flagship, not only for Egypt but for all the world. It's a very, very important project for us and for Egypt, and I wish that everyone here in the panel and in the room to have the opportunity to visit the museum. Regarding the operation and maintenance, I would say for us it's mainly maintenance more than operation. Operation could, I would say, to my colleagues from Siemens and Alstom, they could have the capability to operate, I would say, if we speak about the mobility and mass transit system, they are the one to operate. For us, it's more about maintenance. Why this could be an important, I would say, topic for us? First, we built the project, so we are the best ones to understand whatever in the project as far as systems, electromechanical equipment, all the technical issues related to the project. We know it. We built it, and we have the ability to understand how it can be maintained well and how to ensure that there is a sustainable, I would say, operation when it comes to operation for those projects. It's not a small business when we come to a project like the high speed, when it be completed 2,000 kilometers. To maintain the systems for this project, it's not a small amount of, I would say, revenue. It's actually a big amount, and at the same time, it ensures having a steady revenue. So we always know that construction activity is cyclic business. So sometimes you have projects, sometimes not. When you have like a maintenance project like that, long term, you ensure that you have a steady flow of income coming every year for a certain period of time. So in fact, and this is part of our strategy always as Orascom, besides the construction business, we generate another business that ensure having a steady flow of revenue over the years. So we were, I would say, investing before in cement and then fertilizers. Now concessions. Again, as part of the concession, if you go and build a water treatment plant, a power plant, you are responsible about the operation and maintenance, which again, besides the concession in its own revenue, the operation and maintenance also generate revenue. So those are a source of steady revenue generation besides the construction activity.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I'm going to now move to Leon from Siemens Mobility. Siemens Mobility raised a lot of eyebrows a few years back when the high-speed rail system was announced. I mean, the value of the contract was what, 8.2, 8.3 billion? Just about.
Correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this was the biggest order in Siemens Mobility's history. Is that correct as well?
That's also correct, yes.
Okay, so I know why you're smiling now. So that's a monumental system in the sense that the way it's being perceived in the public eye because of the route, it's being seen as a complementor, or some would say an alternate to the maritime route through the Suez Canal in terms of freight. At least some analysis out there has speculated that this is what the logic behind the project was, and it remains in the public eye whether we sort of like it or not. And again, sticking with the theme of digitalization and AI, I know the trains that are being deployed today are not my grandfather's train. They're much more complicated. There is a lot of technology behind it. I'm just curious to establish the link between the technology used to do capacity management, to do freight optimization on such a long system, and the capability that this affords an economy like Egypt in order to have alternatives to the maritime route, especially with the geopolitical tensions that we have seen over the past 2 years, if you will. So again, your project is not a typical project. It has a lot of sort of hopes attached to it. So help us separate the reality from the hype around this and what's the digital aspect to it has to do.
I mean, let me first thank you for having me here, and we're very happy and proud of Siemens Mobility throughout this TransMEA in 2025. To have our flagship Volaro high-speed train just exhibited outside, so for everybody that is willing to leave the comfort of the air-conditioned hall here, I would definitely advise them to have a look outside. The train looks amazing, and it even looks better under the Egyptian sun, as I keep telling to my colleagues. Before it was obviously in Germany, it was shipped just recently. The high-speed rail, 2,000 kilometers, together with our partner of Arab Contractors and Orascom Construction, was the biggest order in Siemens history. The history of Siemens in Egypt actually is more of a love relationship than we might have with Alstom or we'd have with Orascom, just to refer that. That's why I'm sitting closer to my Orascom colleagues than to
Makes sense, okay.
French colleagues. But actually next year we will be in Egypt for 125 years from the origination of the telegraph cable through the Red Sea, through interlocking systems, relay interlocking systems in the 1960s, now in the 21st century for the high-speed rail with 2,000 kilometers, over 55 stations. 90% of the people in Egypt will have direct access to the high-speed rail. And I think it was Osama Bishai yesterday in a private conversation that said this is like introducing people to the mobile phone 25 years ago. You don't know what the technology brings until it is really there. And I'm very happy that just yesterday we did a first trial run on a small section close to just west of the Nile that actually operated the first zero high-speed train. I mean, to your question, I think it's very important that we are bringing technology into a country like Egypt. Egypt has always been a wonderful country in adopting new technologies and then rolling them out in record speed from the Suez Canal to 2,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. It will change the dynamics and the foundations of the country to a large extent beyond our imagination just right now. What is interesting about the high-speed rail is that it obviously connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean and the north with the south, or actually Lower Egypt to Upper Egypt. And it will also have mixed traffic, which is a very common concept in Germany and some European countries, where by day you would operate passenger trains, both on a regional level or also on a high-speed connection level, and at night you can operate freight. So we saw yesterday evening, for the people that attended the gala dinner, we saw a big presentation of Hutchison Ports. Abu Dhabi Ports is here, I know Dubai Ports is here as well. Ports are very important for the economic development and the growth of the GDP of Egypt. Egypt is strategically positioned in the world with the Suez Canal just in their territory. A lot of the freight and trade of the world flows through here, and hence we dubbed the Ain Soukna to Alexandria connection also as the Suez Canal on rails, because it would allow shipping to move faster, it would allow shipping to move more distributed, and that's also the reason why these ports are developed. I mean, normally a public transportation system is, as it says, it's for the public, but if you add this freight component to it, you basically create more levers of generating revenue for the Egyptian people and ultimately for the state. You've asked the AI question, so there's many aspects to your question. I'm not sure how I can keep it short, but maybe I just address one aspect of how we implemented AI in our high-speed rail. If you look outside to our train, obviously the major engineering challenge we had to face is how to run a high-speed train through these climatic desert conditions. And actually I didn't know it, but my engineering team told me that there's 61 different grains of sand in the Egyptian desert. Wow. From micrometers to millimeters, which all have to be accompanied for when you operate a train like this, and to reduce the maintenance intervals to increase the availability of the train. So our engineering team went through tremendous amounts of simulation, heat testing, climate testing, CFD flows, in order to make sure that the train is fully capable of operating in climate conditions like this through AI and through other means of intelligence.
Fantastic, thank you for that. I did not know that we have 61 different grains of sand, so
now you know.
I learned something new today. Thank you, sir. I'm going to switch to Arabic for the next question. القبطان أحمد جمال مشرفنا النهارده من المنطقة الاقتصادية. المنطقة الاقتصادية السويس هي يعني توصف انها وحش، لانه وحش تنميه اقتصاديه قصدي اقول، لانه حضراتكم عندكم صلح لي وانا غلطان 6 مواني و4 مناطق اقتصاديه حره او ايكونوميك فري زونز جوه المنطقه. وبالتالي جزء كبير اعتقد من طموحات رؤيه 2030 والتنميه الاقتصاديه هيبقى يقع على عاتق المنطقه انها تجتذب استثمارات وانها تغير الصوره النمطيه عن مساله الاستثمار الاجنبي اللي ساعات بيلاقي بعض المشاكل وهكذا. انا عايز بس ادي حضرتك فرصه تشرح لنا دور المنطقه الاقتصاديه في ظل المشروعات اللي بتتنفذ بتاعه القطار السريع وهكذا. يعني قبل كده حضرتك كانت مسؤوليتك انه كونتينر هينزل في ميناء سفاجه ولا شرق بورسعيد ولا او السخنه او غيره، وحضراتكم كمدير المنطقه هيبقى عليك الالتزامات الطبيعيه بتاعه البورت اوبريتور او المشغل وخلاص. دلوقتي بقى في القطار السريع هيوصل للمنطقه وهيبقى في مسارات لتمرير هذه الكونتينرز وهكذا. ده يغير ازاي نمط الشغل بتاع حضراتكم، وفي نفس الوقت ازاي يساعدكم انكم تجتذبوا استثمارات؟ لان حضرتك قلت لي رقم قبل البانل مفرح الحقيقه، مش عارف نقدر نقوله للناس ولا لا. يعني احمد بيه كان بيقول ان في خلال ال3 سنين اللي فاتوا المنطقه الاقتصاديه استقطبت استثمارات اجنبيه بقيمه 10 مليار دولار في 3 سنوات، وطبعا ده رقم اعتقد مفرح لاي مصري، نامل في المزيد طبعا. فانا عايز اربط رقم الاستثمار ده بالتغير اللي حاصل في البيئه بوجود انماط ترانسبورتيشن جديده. فالمايك معاك، اتفضل يا فندم.
استاذ احمد الف شكر على التقديم. ما اعرفش ممكن اتكلم عربي ولا اتكلم انجليزي. اعتقد I prefer to speak in English.
Okay, fine.
Because my colleagues in the panels.
Okay.
The SCZONE have been established since 2015 by a presidential decree, and including 6 main ports, 3 in the Mediterranean and 3 in the Red Sea, and 4 industrial zones. Our total area is 455 square kilometers, which about like a small country. We have our own law. We are a special economic zone, not a free zone, and there is such a difference between these. We monitor 3 ports in the Mediterranean, East Port Said and West Port Said and El Arish, and 3 in the south, the Adabea port and the Sukhna and El Tur port. Actually, our law gives us the privilege to monitor and control and enhance our ecosystem to gather the FDIs, localize industries, and ease the doing business. Also, our strategy is the integration between the ports, the industrial zones, and all the business inside our zone. Regarding your excellent question, the high-speed rail will affect great in our ease of doing business, because as we said that our panel, one of the titles is the sustainable or sustainability. We have suffered before the blockage of the Suez Canal, and we believe that when we do alternatives, we sustain the doing business. So the high-speed rail connecting from the Sukhna port to Alexandria, it's like an artery or vein for the logistics and the industrials inside Egypt. Because in this case, the railway will connect 2 main ports and different or several industrial zones across Egypt. In this case, and give me for doing this, we are doing our own belt and road for Egypt. Not for Egypt, but for all the whole world. The ease of doing a logistics center or a world-class logistics center across the region is getting from our geographic location, our ease of doing business, our connectivity from the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, and connecting all these with a super infrastructure. I think we are doing well as a country. And of course, our zone succeeded in the last 3 years, as we said, gathering FDIs, more than 10 billion US dollars. Currently, when I'm speaking now, we have more than 100 companies under construction. So we are doing well. And last but not least, regarding this question, we are aiming for integration and simplicity and to make an eco-friendly system. Also, we have in our zone the SCZONE trade platform, which is our platform to connect and integrate the commercial business with the investors, with the ports, with the industrial area, and with the customs authority. And this is doing well right now, and we hope by the end of this year that our integrated logistics and customs center will be operable to enhance the time and the speed of doing the cargo and commodities from and outside the zone.
Fantastic, thank you, sir. أهلا سيد عبد العزيز, مشرفنا حضرتك. I'm going to ask a question related to your role. I understand.
Hello.
Abu Dhabi Ports is a major investor in the Egyptian maritime and logistics sector. I think just doing the research before this panel, I understand you're running terminals of different kinds in Safaga, Red Sea, Hurghada, Alexandria as well. So you're heavily invested in this sector, which in itself is going through tremendous transformation, shall we say. My question to you relates to the recent risks that we have seen in the Red Sea regarding the geopolitical uncertainties surrounding all kinds of traffic and how that directly affected the Suez Canal revenues. In your case, you have the luxury of operating multiple ports and multiple logistics hubs. So I'm curious if you can actually shed some light on how do you see the environment in Egypt, having spent so much money in investing and developing these ports, and what kind of ecosystem that Abu Dhabi Ports is building around those investments, and possibly how it relates to the points raised by the gentleman in terms of, on the panel, in terms of the high-speed rail providing a route between Red Sea and Mediterranean, as well as all the efforts that the Suez Canal zone is developing and so on. So walk us through this very interesting story that Abu Dhabi Ports have built in Egypt.
أنا أجاوب بالإنجليزي ولا بالعربي أفضل؟
اللي رايح حضرتك.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, I'm very proud to participate in this event. I will just shed light a little bit about Nuatan Ports. Nuatan Port is the new operating arm of Abu Dhabi Ports internationally. We are in Africa, Asia, Europe, and LATAM. We run currently 27 terminals globally, and working today with our colleagues on the international office. We are expanding our asset. If it is not by 30%, maybe in the coming years it will look much more. Of course, with every conflict today, there is an opportunities. And being today in Egypt market, in Safaga and other terminals, we look how we can transfer this or have from this conflict and opportunities. Safaga, with its position today down south Egypt, it's ease the connection between Egypt and the neighboring country like Aqaba and Saudi Arabia. Today we're having a lot of conversation with the trades to start creating this connection, inshallah, by next year. This will reduce the time and the freight cost when it comes to maritime trades. So this is when it comes to Safaga terminals. Other terminals, inshallah, we see how we can collaborate with our neighboring country as well, like Jordan. Soon you will hear a good news, inshallah. And this is the area of collaboration, that the opportunities that we see as an Abu Dhabi ports and Noatum ports operating on.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to go back to Martin, if I may. You have a unique position in terms of the area that you cover, AMICA, so Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia, some of the highest growth markets and probably some of the most complicated in terms of regulations and compliance and so on. We spoke about the integration theme, having urban, suburban, intercity systems interconnected in a way that provides seamless end-to-end customer experience and freight flowing and so on. I'm just curious, having this mandate across AMICA, what are the key challenges, either technical or regulatory, in achieving this holy grail of integration? What needs to be done? Specifically for Egypt, what can we do better, if there are lessons in other countries that would actually expedite this integration? Because again, you have seen Morocco, you have seen every African country, and you definitely have some interesting insights. So please share those with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely a huge challenge, particularly when you have a long history. Obviously, when you start from zero, it's easier, to manage everything upstream. So we have the example in Saudi, for example, not far from here, when they started the metro of Riyadh, they could think immediately about organizing everything and, let's say, integrating the various transportation modes together. And today, if you go to Riyadh Metro, they will show you their TCC, so fully integrated control center, not only for the metro, but also for the other modes of mobility within the city. So when you're starting from zero, it's easier to organize everything. For sure, when you have a long history, when you have metro lines dating back to decades, etc., and that now you want to integrate with other modes of transportation, it is quite a challenge. But obviously you need to, because those various, systems, they all speak their own language, they all have their own, security systems, their own modes, but still, there are possibilities, and first and foremost, I think what we're all looking for, as industrial companies, is to achieve efficiency in these systems, maximizing the use of the systems and achieving efficiency. And to do that, there are a certain number of things that the authorities need to reflect on. First, it is regulations, to make sure that things can work together and that the regulations are not creating unnecessary barriers between the various modes of transportation. Second is really to think about how do you bring the people to use the systems in an efficient and coordinated manner. Typically, doing a high-speed line is very good, but doing a high-speed line without feeding the high-speed line with metros, with tramways, let's say, at the stations, in order for people to be able to board the high-speed trains is a bit missing the point to a certain extent. So very important to have, let's say, a comprehensive thinking about how all these investments, which are extremely heavy, will be perfectly used. So feeding the high speed and the main line with urban transport is of the essence, particularly in, countries like Egypt, where the density of population in the urban areas is so high. And then you have some technology, obviously, in order to manage intermodality, and which also has to be managed upstream. As I said, Saudi is a good example in Riyadh to showcase this type of solutions. But we have also, and specifically at Alstom, we have developed some tools and some solutions in order to integrate as good as possible the various means of transportation in order for the authorities who are supervising to manage, let's say, the various on a daily basis, in real life, in real time, actually, the various means of transport in order to make that an efficient system. I think this is really the next step in this area, to have the integration. But frankly, it's a huge challenge. It goes step by step, particularly in those countries which are building the various building blocks, let's say, one after the other.
Understood. Thank you, sir. I'll go back to Mr. Ahab from Orascom. Before the panel started, we had an interesting discussion about the whole sustainability dilemma that's facing construction companies, especially those who have quite an international exposure like yourself. Your projects span Middle East, Africa, and probably elsewhere as well. And these markets have different requirements and different frameworks governing sustainability. You've always concerned about, unless something happens to back the sustainability mandate in a way that actually makes it easier for construction companies to map their operations and so on, unless that happens, all the talk about sustainability will not result in meaningful transformation. I just wanted you to expand on that, because construction management is something that is not in the public eye all the time, and we do not really understand the complexity of it. So as a company that looked at this sustainability mandate in different markets, what needs to happen in the Egyptian case to make it easier to actually develop this roadmap and get the confidence to implement these interesting sustainability mandates that we read about in, let's say, Europe or Asia Pac or elsewhere?
It's totally, I would say, different between, say, a country like Egypt and when you go to work in Europe or USA or Australia. I mean, we have this footprint beside, of course, the Middle East and UAE and Saudi Arabia. It's different. I mean, through our subsidiary in Australia, or I would say B6, which is a Belgian company working in Europe, they have a mandate, clear mandate, I would say mandate by the government, that they have to achieve certain requirements at a certain time. I mean, maybe 2030, they are pushing it to be 2034 regarding carbon dioxide emissions, how to handle several aspects. I mean, it's a very, very long list related to carbon dioxide emissions. And each construction company has to follow certain route, certain plan to achieve this target. And whoever will not be achieving this target, they will be receiving every year like an audit, and they will check whether they are proceeding with the steps required or not. And if it's not proceeding with the steps, then this could affect his financial capabilities, I would say credit rating with the banks. So it's different. We don't have this in Egypt. I mean, however, I would say it's something important for the environment, for the people. And for us, as much as possible, we are trying to manage, I would say, as much as we can, those topics related to sustainability in the construction. When we build something sustainable, it comes first from the client. It's not from us. So, I mean, today we are involved, of course, we are partners with Siemens for the high speed. This is, I would say, latest technology that definitely will reduce emissions, because it's power, I would say, it's getting its energy from power, not fuel, oil or diesel. So that's enhancing definitely the emissions. When it comes, I would say, to the monorail, it's the same. All these projects definitely have impact on the environment, on the sustainability in the country. So those projects, again, we deliver based on client requirements. So it's the Ministry of Transportation who decided to bring latest technology in the high speed, latest technology in the monorail, or in the Cairo metro network. And those projects definitely having a positive impact. I would say when you compare between the mass transit system and moving on roads, there are a lot of advantages. I would say you have less accidents, you have less, I would say, trip time, much better, I would say, environmentally as far as carbon dioxide emissions. So those are, I would say, the impacts that we are seeing in the construction. So it
makes sense. Thank you, sir. Leon, you're wearing two hats today. You're the CEO of Turnkey, as well as the CEO for the Middle East and Africa region. Is that correct? So that makes you an ideal executive to ask this question. If you're assuming an advisory role to a Minister of Transportation in MEA. This is a MEA event at the end of the day. And again, because of the nature of these investments in transport networks, these are very long-term networks. So, you need to get it right as much as possible. So looking 10 years ahead to 2035, if you're giving advice today to a Middle East and Africa transport minister in terms of where to direct their investment as a priority, whether in signaling, capacity management, new terminals, or something else completely, what would that advice be? And feel free to have more than one advice if it requires.
I mean, I would have a lot of advices, but thanks for spelling out the two hats that I have. So it's actually because the Egyptian side are very strict in negotiations. We had to do some cost savings. So one of the cost savings, I had to do 2 jobs. So this is one. The second thing, obviously, is you've asked for recommendations. I mean, 5 years ago, or 5.5 years ago, when I arrived here as the CEO for Middle East and Africa region, we had conversations with all the transport ministers across the region, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain, and Kuwait, and UAE, but also here in Egypt. And what has set us apart, and this was in the middle of COVID, this was 2020, summer 2020. So what set Egypt apart in terms of vision, leadership, is their simple decisiveness and proactiveness. We can talk about sustainability, we can talk about long-term views and long-term objectives, but the simple fact of the matter is that investing in one high-speed train with a lifespan of 30, 35 or 40 years simply takes away the investment of the equivalent of 20,000 cars. Now, even if you would take a economical car, that simple capex investment is much more than the cost of one high-speed train. So if you want to, I mean, for me, it's not always about making the right decision or about the wrong decision. It's about decisiveness in making the right decision at the right time. And I think here Egypt has shown extreme vision and extreme decisiveness of implementing the project with a certain level of flexibility. Where do we build the station? What would be the operating speed? What would be the operating model? Do we allow for passenger trains and high-speed trains? Do we allow for mixed traffic at night? And the business case, obviously, with the population growth that Egypt is going through and the rest of the region is going through, this investment will also always pay off. A lot of countries around the world are spending decades at the studying table, doing advisory work, looking at studies, waiting for new political acumen and decisiveness to go through. And I think here in Egypt that really sets it apart. Now to your question, 10 years in the future, obviously we were looking at a different country here in Egypt. We're looking at a country that will have all these modes of transport that's operated in the panel, both on the freight and on the passenger side, will be fully operational. Hopefully the geopolitical context will be more stable than it is now. That would be a very welcome into the government, to the people, and to business as well. And there's many use cases that such transportation systems and such transportation connectivity will bring to the larger economical people. People will be working in Cairo and traveling home over the weekend instead of once or twice a year as they do now, because simply travel times will be reduced with 50%. There's a lot of ideas that I have, let's say visionary ideas of connecting the countries in the GCC area and also outside of that. There's many talks that we have with governments and with consultancy firms about connecting some of the capitals in the GCC area, like the capitals in Europe are connected. That doesn't just create prosperity or ease of transport for the people, but it also creates an interlinkage on a geopolitical level, which goes a long way of creating a structure and a bond between the clients. Now, in terms of investment, I would always invite to make the investment as soon as possible. Leave some flexibility in the decision making throughout the final alignment or the final contract, also in the system. And there, I think that the GCC generally is on a very good path because they chose systems that are normally very interoperable, like ETCS Level 2, which is the European train control system that's implemented in the high-speed rail. There's many competitors in the market that can actually provide such a system. It's interoperable. It can be expanded towards the future. And if you stay within that frame and if you stay within that structure, a lot of things towards the future of expansions obviously is possible. There is this dream of a rail from Cairo to Cape Town. With technologies like this, obviously, that can be realized at some point in time. Might not happen in 10 years. It might need a bit more decisiveness, but that would be definitely a dream.
Makes sense. What you just said resonates. I'm a telecom engineer by trade, and in the telecom business, there is this massive ambition. It's called C2C, Cape to Cairo. And again, it's about rolling out fiber, connecting Cape Town to Cairo, and around the way you actually connect to all the African countries and so on. So it's the same kind of ambition, and I agree it's more than 10 years to make such a thing happen, but definitely Africa deserves these kinds of visionary projects to deliver economic development. I'll go back to Captain Ahmed Gamal. A big part of the success of the Suez Canal zone has to be favorable operating environment and regulations. All the time in the media there is this comparison between what is being developed in Suez and Singapore or Jabal Ali or other hubs. And I think having a favorable regulatory environment is a big attractive point that you actually leverage when you're talking to international investors and so on. Can we learn from that? Can some of the benefits that these regulations created in the economic free zone accrue in other parts in the Egyptian economy? Or does it have to always be like a special zone and the rest of the economy has to have all the red tape and all the bureaucracy and so on? Can we leverage what we learned in the successful implementation for the past, I would say, 10 years elsewhere in the economy so that we accelerate the development? Or are we always stuck in this mood where if you want something done quickly, you have to go to a free zone. If you operate within the proper economy, it's all the conflicts and red tape and bureaucracy and delays and so on. What's your take on that?
It's a very tricky question.
Okay, don't answer it then.
Okay, in 2015, the government or the president have been issued the rule of the economic zones. And we started this story, or this success story. 1 year before today, or 2 years before, there is an establishment for the Golden Triangle under the same rule. And also this year, there is another economic zone in the Mediterranean, in Gargoub, under the same law, which means that the government or Egypt have noticed the well success story for the elasticity and the ease of doing business and the ecosystem for the economic zones. And I think that we are going as a government, this is the mainstream that Egypt should go through. That's it.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to pressure you more than that. I'm going to go to Mr. Al-Mutawwa, if I may. Abu Dhabi Ports is definitely an international port operator across.
This is the Mutawwa. This is Baluch.
Sorry, Mr. Baluch, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So my question again, within the portfolio of Abu Dhabi Ports, and again, given the sizable investment that Abu Dhabi Ports made in multiple terminals in Egypt, sticking with the theme of digitization and transformation, what role does digital technology and AI in particular have to play in your operating strategy in terms of managing port to rail, for example, end-to-end delivery, and these kinds of multimodal logistics networks? Do they feature high in your priority, or is your industry takes a wait and see kind of approach? Let's wait until we see a model and then we adopt it. Are you experimenting with some of those technologies elsewhere, like pilot projects and so on? Just again, I need to understand a little bit more how an international operator is looking at this digital technology and maybe give some insight to other operators.
I will explain a little bit in details about how we operate today in Abu Dhabi ports. So in UAE as a region, which is our flagship terminal, we have created port community system and single window. For example, today, if it comes to a cruise passengers, I'll give a very simple example to make it very convenient. If a passenger today comes in the cruise terminal, he hands his luggage and he gets his luggage in the country of destinations, which means today you have a sophisticated system connecting the terminal to the airport and back to the end destinations. Of course, this needs an infrastructure. It needs connectivity today of data with the airport and with the medium between the ports and let's say the customs, the shuttles, etc., etc. Similarly, today we are using the AI for the terminal or for the yard planning and for the automation, because we have a semi-automated terminal in Khalifa Port. So, and it connects with the customs today for inspections and for the truckers as well. So all these chains, it has been automated and to ease and make a seamless operation for the customers. Of course, there's a lot of benefits today from using PCS in our in Abu Dhabi ports. If we talk in numbers, we have 75 today reduction in papers, 100% of automation in billing and invoicing, up to $15 per TU when it comes to save annually, and the digital process, and much more. Of course, and the level of because we have a federal and federal government and local government in each Emirates, we have a port community system which sits in each Emirates, and at the federal level, which is it sits across all these Emirates, which connects all these processes together, and this brings an overall, I will call it, in UAE it's a transformation in the digitization and using of the AI. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, as an Watem port, an operating arm as well, we take today this technology wherever we go, and similarly today we will be implementing in Safaga in the ports itself, all the AI experience that we have in Abu Dhabi ports and Khalifa ports, and we would wish that we see that this is at the national level in Egypt, where it will of course connect the industrial zones, the truckings, and all the logistic and supply chain.
Fantastic. I'm almost done with my questions. I just have one announcement and then a final question to the panelists. The announcement is that after the panel ends, there's going to be an MOU signature by Abu Dhabi Ports, so please stick around for that. بعد انتهاء البانل هيبقى في توقيع حفل توقيع مذكرة تفاهم من موانئ أبو ظبي، فممكن حضراتكم تنتظروا عشان تشوفوا التوقيع. Final round is one question for each with 10 seconds to answer. I'm going to be very direct. Captain Ahmed, a country that you always are monitoring in your development activities, benchmarking against, and maybe copying from, I'm not going to pressure you, but give me a name of the country that you're sort of always looking at and maybe sort of keeping at the back of your mind, you and your team.
We have several countries.
Okay, give me
Not
five.
only one. Five. Okay.
You said several.
Of course, our colleagues in United Arab Emirates, our colleagues in Saudi Arabia.
That's enough. Okay. Martin, give me a project that you were really sad to miss. A project that you sort of said, I wish I got, but you missed. Anywhere in America.
I have to say Dubai Blue Line. We missed it.
Dubai Blue Line, what's
Yes.
that? Explain it to the audience.
It's a metro project that we lost last year.
Okay,
We're
fair
really
enough.
sad to have missed it.
Okay. Leon, give me a project that you're most proud of in your area of responsibility. What's the project that you said, okay, that was a really good one? Okay.
I think you can answer it for yourself. This is the high-speed rail in Egypt. Yeah. I get the easiest
Too easy
question.
this one.
Thank
Too
you.
easy.
I gave you that one too easy. Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Mr. Ahmed, give me.
By the way, Siemens had its largest project in energy in history was in Egypt
Okay.
and in mobility.
Correct.
So 2 times.
How is your ego now? Big enough? Okay.
I like to be modest.
Thank you, Ehabek. Ehabek, give me a market that you think is ripe for expansion, that you're targeting to expand into, that you're not currently operating in.
Not currently operating it.
Something on your radar screen that you're looking at and say, this is interesting for 2026.
I would say we are operating. Abu Dhabi, we are operating, but we are looking to expand more.
Okay, fair enough. And finally, Mr. Blushi, in your opinion, what's the biggest risk that can actually detract from all the positive dynamics that we discussed in terms of infrastructure project? Pick a risk or two if you must.
In my opinion, and especially that we are expanding globally in a fast rhythm, I think funding is something very important, and having the right partner is something that we always look at. I think
So funding is the biggest risk?
it's not the biggest risk, it's one of the risks that sometimes you go to countries that lenders sometimes becomes a hurdle for us. But alhamdulillah, with Abu Dhabi Ports being a Class A company, we didn't face these issues internationally.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, gentlemen, for a very interesting discussion. I hope this was beneficial to our audience. I definitely learned a lot from the discussion, and let's keep the discussion flowing and enjoy the rest of your event.